All right, well, welcome to Workplace Skills Customer Service. That's today's workshop. I'm really glad that you're here, so thank you for making the time to come out. We're going to talk about customer service because a lot of you are going to be working part-time jobs possibly. You might already have a part-time job. Does anyone have a part-time job already while they're here at WSSU? Or you could also have already had work experience because we have a lot of y'all who are adult learners and you're coming back to school where you've already had some work experience. So this skill right here is extremely important because whether you have had a job or whether you're going to, of course, have a job after you graduate, you've got to know this stuff. This is very important. What is customer service? What do you all think of as good customer service or bad customer service? And how do you define customer service? What do you think? Lauren?
As long as you have good manners when you talk to someone, that should be good customer service. You shouldn't be rude or have bad body language or anything like that.
I like that. Yeah, having good manners. Very good. Having good manners is very important. We're going to talk a little bit about customer service and a kind of a new way to define customer service. But first, I just want to give you a roadmap about what we're going to do today. Hey, y'all, come on in. Y'all here for customer service workshop? Excellent. And what are your names, please?
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, you said?
Yes.
Gabrielle and... Sorry, could you say it again? Zora? Zora, no? Okay. And it's Lauren, right? Laura?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to back up just a minute, and we started off with asking what is customer service. So I want to ask that to you all since you're just coming in. Zora, what do you think of when you think of customer service? Either what it is or what makes good customer service or bad customer service?
Knowing how to talk to people.
Knowing how to talk to people?
Yeah, being respectful.
Yes, being respectful is very important. Good. And how about yourself, Gabrielle? What do you think?
I feel like it's serving the customer, like pleasing all the customers and kind of helping them out.
Helping them out, pleasing them, giving them what they need. Good. And what's your name?
Oh,
Alana? What do you think of when you think of customer service?
Basically, just customer satisfaction, making sure they are served with pleasure.
And what brings you here? Why are you interested in customer service? Do you all have part-time jobs? Have you had jobs before? Tell me about that.
I work in customer service at McDonald's.
Okay, so you work at McDonald's. Great.
I work in Walgreens.
Walgreens? All right.
I work at Arby's.
Arby's, you said? Arby's, great. Okay, good. Well, this is great. This is really going to touch on a lot of things. And this is exactly why we have this workshop, because we know that when you're working a part-time job while you're still studying, you're probably going to be working in the service industry. You're probably going to be providing customer service. So that's why this is so relevant. I was just starting to talk about the roadmap of what we're going to do today. It's going to be no more than an hour, probably a lot less than that, probably about 45 minutes. But we're going to talk over 5 really key things I want to discuss. The first thing is how to define customer service, not as customer service, but as something called delight. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The second thing is, what do we do with complaints? When people complain about something, I'm sure you've had people come to your restaurant or your store and have not been satisfied about something. What do you do with that? What's the right approach? The third thing that I want to talk about is what customers want from us as people who are interfacing with them, who are working with them. The fourth thing is words have power. I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means and why words are important. You've already mentioned it, right? Being respectful, speaking respectfully is very important. And then finally, I want to end with a resolution process. Because a lot of people ask me, well, what do I do when I'm trying to resolve a problem? This is a very detailed way to resolve any problems that a customer can have with you as the employee working with them, trying to satisfy their customer needs. So without further ado, let's jump into customer delight. Now we talked about customer service being serving the customer, helping them get what they need, those kinds of things. I want to talk about customer delight because that is like a next level of thinking about customer service. It's a level maybe you've never thought about, and that's why I want to talk about it today. Because I don't just want to talk about things you already know. Let's push the boundaries and try to do something even more special that you've maybe never thought about. And that would be customer delight. You're here for customer service, right? The workshop? Yeah, have a seat. What's your name, please?
Victoria.
Victoria, great. Just go ahead and sign the sign-in sheet when you get a chance. It's right here. And grab a sheet if you don't have a you don't have it. Grab this whenever you're ready. So what is customer delight? Here's a couple of ideas. It's giving more than expected or needed. More than, right? It's not just giving them what they expect or need, it's giving them more than what they expect or need. And it's not just satisfying what they want, it's creating a wow moment, something that's really memorable, that sticks with them. Now, I'm not saying you can do this with every single customer, that's not what I'm saying. But when there's an opportunity, those are the things you should be looking for. Chances to create wow moments for your customers. They always want you to be real, personal, and genuine, but you also have to be the best version of yourself, right? Like we all have hard days, we can all get a bit snippy, we can all have an attitude once in a while, but if you can be real and true to yourself, but be the best version of yourself, that's what you need to do when it comes to customer delight. If you're able to achieve these kinds of things, then you can create loyalty. And you work for a company, right? Maybe one day you'll work for yourself. That would be cool. But right now you work for a company. And that company needs those people to come back. They need their customers to come back. That's called loyalty, when they repeat and come back to you and have a good experience. And they come back again because they had a good experience with you, because you're the person facing that customer. So that's what it means to delight the customer. Does everybody see how that could be different from just customer service? Everybody see that? So again, hopefully in these first 5 minutes, I'm reframing for you what customer service really could be or should be. Let's talk about a little bit more about what this means, because I know it might be a little bit hazy still right now. So let's get into the details. How can you create a wow moment or a great moment for your customer? Sometimes it's a tangible thing, right? It's compensation, meaning money. That could be giving their money back if there's a problem. It could be having a gift card. It could be including a free item of some kind that is not that expensive, but creates that wow moment for the person. It could be something like making it right or fixing it. Again, I'm tying it a little bit in with customer issues when they have a problem or whatnot. But if you're able to fix something or make something right that they're not happy about, or if they can't find something in the store and you find it for them, right? That's fixing a problem. That creates customer delight. They didn't expect that, right? You're just working the register at Walgreens, for example, and they're looking around and you're looking at them looking around and you realize they don't know what they're doing and they can't find what they're looking for. You walk over, you say, "Can I help you find something?" They say, "Yeah, I thought you have this particular kind of shampoo." And they name it and you're like, "Oh, it's right over here." You point them exactly where it is. You just delighted that person. Because they didn't expect you to actually walk up and help them. They thought, "I need to do this myself, right? I'm not going to get anything special here." But you gave them something special. And that's a wow moment. That creates loyalty. That creates a great opportunity to impact that customer. And then that giving that extra service is something like what I just talked about. These are tangible ways that you can create delight. But there are intangible ways too. Intangible means not something that you can see, feel, or touch. It could be your knowledge. When you advise them about which, for example, shampoo to buy, if they're not sure, "Wow, there's 30 of these. I don't know which of these I should buy," right? Isn't that true of every customer? "Wow, you got 20 different kinds of burgers. Which one should I buy?" Maybe not at McDonald's, but still you're going to have 5 or 6 burgers. Which one should I get? So when you have knowledge about something, when you've eaten, when you've tried every one of your own products at McDonald's, for example, you can actually say, "Well, I personally like this because that's the flavor it gives me. Or I like this one because they give you the extra stuff on top with the pickles and all that. Whereas this one's not going to give you that. If you know it and you have that knowledge and you give that knowledge to the customer, they can appreciate that. That can create delight. Other things that are, again, intangible, right? Not giving them money, not giving them a thing, is kindness. People, especially now in the post-COVID era, right? We've not learned to live with each other for a while, and now we're getting back to that. Kindness, people really want to feel like they're part of a community still. And having that kindness to strangers, people you really don't know, can be a great way to delight a customer. Understanding, empathy. They don't want someone who, when they say, gosh, this wasn't right, then you just say, well, that's what you ordered, right? They want to have understanding. Well, tell me what happened. Was there a disconnect somehow? Did you not mention the pickles and we were supposed to put them on? Like, have a conversation, be understanding, be empathetic. Another intangible is humor. If you feel comfortable with humor and making jokes and that kind of thing, again, respectful humor, that still, is not the kind of humor that can make someone upset, right? But if it's respectful humor, you can use that to also create a good experience. Because when people are frustrated, you create humor that can diffuse the situation, right? Make it all right. And even if they're having a good time, you can use humor to have them have an even better time, right? If you put a smile on someone's face, right, that's going to be impactful. That's going to be memorable. They're going to remember when they were in Walgreens and you put a smile on their face. They're going to remember that. So these are the things that add value to a customer. They also want to know that you're for them, not against them. They want to know that you're on their side. Even though you work for the company, right? You're working for somebody else. But they're part of that because they come and they want to be a part of what you do. And they want to know that you're with them. You understand them. So these are some of the ways that you can create customer delight. Is that clear to everybody? Did anyone have any questions so far? All right. Well, let's see. I'm going to give you a couple of examples that come from my personal life and what I've experienced, and then I'm going to let you do the same. The first one is the Chick-fil-A situation. So I've got several kids, and one time I went to Chick-fil-A. It was like early morning, like 10:30 in the morning, and had two of my kids with me. And I went and I was going to order something, but the line seemed to be, well, it wasn't very long, but when I got there, they had run out of the thing I was looking for. I think it was a kid's meal or something. And they said, oh, I'm so sorry, we don't have this piece of the kid's meal. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And so I ordered something else. And so I went back and I was playing, letting the kids play in the back. And when they finally brought the food over, they brought it over and they said, I'm so sorry we didn't have that. Here's a coupon for a free one next time you visit. And it had like a value of like $5 or something. And I was really impressed. I was like, what? Right? It's the unexpected. I expected to get my food. I paid for it, right? I paid for a meal. They're going to bring it to me. That much I expect. But they didn't just do what I expected. They went above and beyond. They gave me a monetary, tangible value. They gave me compensation, money back, basically. I could buy something for free next time I came. It's basically free money, right? I got a free burger or whatever, free kids meal. So they gave me something for free. And that was valuable to me. But what was more valuable was that kindness, that understanding, that knowing that they're for me. They understood me. And they could feel the way I felt. And they were like, yeah, we're going to do this for you because if they were in my shoes, they would want someone to do that for me too. For them too. Does that make sense? This whole idea, going above and beyond. So that's my Chick-fil-A example, which is a real example that really happened to me. And that's why I love Chick-fil-A and I'll always go back and be with them because that's a wow moment. That stuck with me, right? The next wow moment is Disney. I went to Disney World a few years back with my kids and my wife. That's my wife. Anybody been to Disney World? Two of y'all? Okay. So lucky people, right? That's a special thing to be able to go to Disney World. Did you go as kids? Did you go more as teenagers or adults?
I went mostly as a kid, but like
As a
I
kid.
go like every now and then, like every 2 years.
Golly, that's a nice life. How about yourself?
Like once, but I didn't go to the actual Disney World. that was around ish.
Okay,
To like SeaWorld or
okay.
something.
Nice. And sorry, your name again was?
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, that's right. So I might ask you some things about this too, since you can probably relate since you've been there. But we were in line to see Mickey. We were in line, we were waiting, and you know how it is at these amusement parks. If you've never been, then Disney World, they tend to have really long lines. Okay. Even when you sign up for a certain time slot, you still gotta show up and you still gotta wait. Especially for these meet and greets. So we're waiting there trying to meet Mickey. It's really late at night. It's like 8 p.m. This is one of my daughters. She's like 4 at that time. And she was starting to feel a little sick. I think she was dehydrated, hadn't had enough water over the course of the day. It was getting late. She was probably getting tired. Well, she actually had an accident. She threw up like while we were in line. And we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Now, this is pre-COVID, so there was not a lot of the whole are you sick with COVID stuff going on. So it was before COVID. But so she threw up, and so people were like, oh, wow, what do we do? And I was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? But immediately they had like these emergency service people come and check on us and see what we needed and clean up the mess for us. And they took us out, out of the line, which I was very sad to see, but took us out, talked to us about what our options were, made sure she was okay. After they felt like she was doing okay again, this is like 20 minutes later, I was like, wow, okay, whew. I guess we should just go home. Like, that's it. This is the end of the night. This was our last thing. We just have to move on. Well, the service lady who'd been working with us, not the nurse people, but the service lady, she was like assigned to us. She's like, well, I've arranged for you to go back and get into the front of the line so you can go see Mickey before you leave. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, right? You're gonna offer that to us? I was so shocked, right? And they did. They let us get back in line, go right to the front, go see Mickey right away, take pictures with him, and then leave, and then we could proceed with the rest of our evening. That blew my mind, right? That was like, again, customer service is just giving what the customer expects or wants. I wanted them to take care of my child. I expected them to at least make sure she was okay. But they didn't just do that. They did that. And then they went above and beyond. Then they're like, you know what? We're going to work this whole thing out where you can jump to the front of the line. Not only do you get back in line, but you go to the front. That's amazing, right? That's a wow moment. And that's something I'll never forget. And that creates loyalty. That makes me go, wow, I really appreciate Disney World. I appreciate what they do there, what they stand for. If I have a chance to go back, I'm going to, that type of thing. If I have a chance to talk to someone about whether I had a good or bad experience, I'm going to tell them how great it was, right? So have you had any experiences at Disney World?
I mean, I think it was one. I forgot, but it was like a long time ago. It was kind of the same thing, but I think my grandmother, she was with me, and she usually like walks around with us like the whole time. But I think she was overeating, and she couldn't really like walk. She kind of passed out, and we had to kind of go over to the side and help her out. And the people that came too, and they got her a wheelchair. But she was my mom had watched her like just make sure she was okay, and then my dad just got back in. I think they pushed us like to the front a little bit, and it was fine. But it was like I think it was in a fast pass lane. It was like a line there too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we was waiting. I think it was in like the Shrek line or something. It was so hot that day too.
I hear you. But you felt like you did get great service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. So that's a couple of examples that I've personally experienced. Now I'm going to turn it over to you, and this is a chance for you to write on your worksheet if you've not already done so. When have you experienced customer delight? Not just customer service, customer delight.
Could we put like us being the like person, like the employee being the customer?
It's totally up to you. If you want to do it from the standpoint of you being the person who's working, that's fine. I was thinking it more of you being the customer. What have you experienced? But if you have a great one from you being the worker, would love to hear that too. So just take like a quick 2 minutes, write down the first thing you think of. Let me just share it. All right, now that you all had a chance to jot down some ideas, let's share a little bit. What is your experience with customer delight? Lauren, you want to go?
I ordered Domino's with my family one time, and one of the pizzas that we ordered was very poorly made. I guess they got a new baker or something. And so my mom went back to Domino's to see what was going on. Why was this pizza so badly made? So they decided to give us a whole new pizza.
Good. So they fixed the problem. They made it right. Great. Anybody else have an example they want to share?
It's not really from me going somewhere because no one wants to talk to me, so I don't have to deal with any problems. So it's basically at my workplace, and we have like a lot of homeless people come in. This man, he ordered a sandwich and a milkshake, but he didn't realize the whole price of it. And mind you, we already made this stuff like as they're ordering it, so we already made the milkshake, and we just gave it to him for free since he couldn't afford it, and we just didn't want to throw it away.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, where do you work again?
Arby's.
Arby's, that's right. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. Exactly. So that's a situation where maybe the company might say, well, you should just, throw away the product, right, as a general policy. But maybe your manager, your assistant manager, maybe they empower you as one of the employees to make that decision of, well, we'll just go ahead and give it away because, we have to either throw it away or give it away, right? And what's better between the two, right? Giving it away to someone would be so much better, right? So that's a great example. All right, well, anyone else want to share about their experience? Go ahead.
I think I was at Red Lobster and my food had came out cold and they had to remake it or rewarm it, and they basically just gave us that meal for free because I think I had to wait and everybody else that was at the table had already ate and stuff, so I just got my stuff in the to-go box and they just took that off our check, like the meal that was cold off my check.
Right. So in fact, they gave you the food and you didn't have to pay for it. Both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's doing the right thing. It's like you didn't even get to eat with your friends.
Yeah.
That's kind of lame. So they gave it to you for free, but they still gave you the food.
Yeah.
So that's a great example of how they're giving you a monetary benefit. Great. All right. Well, that flows into what I want to talk about next. I told you there's 5 key things I want to talk about. This is key thing number 2. That's going to be complaints. What do we do with them? How do we address them? And the first thing I want to mention about this is that complaints are gifts. It's a good thing to get a complaint. Sometimes. I guess it's good for the company. It might not be good for you personally, your experience. But when you think about it from the company standpoint, what if the customer had said nothing about this problem? Maybe the problem would just keep on happening, right? Maybe that new person at the Domino's Pizza would just keep on making bad pizzas, right? Maybe he just don't know what he's doing and they gave him the responsibility too early and he's messing up all kinds of pizzas. They would never know that until you showed up and said, hey, check this pizza out. Who's the one who made this one at 6:50 p.m.? We need to talk to that guy right now. So again, if you don't point out the problem from a company standpoint, they might have a bigger problem, which is they cannot identify things that are not working right. So then, again, the question is, what if the customer had said nothing? Would the business be better off or worse off? Most times, you're going to find that it's worse off if someone doesn't bring something up, right? Have you noticed that in your own workplaces? When they point something out, sometimes you're thankful because you're like, wow, that's a system problem. These fries are not being cooked right. Oh, we didn't realize we didn't have the temperature set at 200 degrees instead of 170 or whatever it is, right? We didn't have the right temperature. We didn't realize that. And now that you said that, you're right. These fries are not crispy. So again, these kinds of things are helping us. And that's the way we have to think about it. If you only think about it as, I got somebody mad in front of me and they're just, tearing me up, obviously you're not going to react very well to that. But if you think of it as, this customer is trying to make us better. They're trying to help us fix things that are problematic. And I have to treat them with respect because I probably would want to do the same. I probably want to get this right too. And so you got to have that approach of, all right, complaints are not a bad thing. They might be emotional in the moment and you have to handle that like an adult. And that's hard sometimes. But after you've gotten through that, you realize that was worth knowing. That was a good thing for our company to know about. And then when you talk about complaints, one thing that you really want to think about is make it easy for people to give you feedback as a company. All right? Make it easy. Because the harder it is for them to give you feedback, the less likely they're going to do it. The easier it is for them to do it, the more likely you're going to hear things you need to know about. So those are my key points. The final key point I have about complaints is that usually when we get feedback, we just let it pile up, right? Pile up on a desk. We let it accumulate. We let it just go somewhere and we don't ever talk about it again. What you really need to do, again, is you go up the ladder. Maybe you're already up that ladder. Maybe you're already assistant manager or something, or maybe a manager. That would be awesome. But as you work your way up the ranks, you want to start thinking about how can I use feedback I get to create opportunities for us to problem solve. All right? So again, you don't want that feedback to go into the junk pile and never get looked at again. You want the feedback to go to a place where you can have, for example, a weekly meeting or some way to organize, or a daily or a nightly meeting where you talk about what went well and what went poorly today. How can we make it better tomorrow? That type of stuff. Let's make sure that temperature's at 200 tomorrow morning, so we can get it right when our first customers come in, not at midday when people are complaining about how they're not crispy. So these are the kinds of things you want to get right. And let's make sure he's retrained so he knows how to make that supreme pizza, which he clearly did not know how to do yesterday. Let's retrain him in the morning, make sure he knows what he's doing, so when it comes time to make those pizzas in prime time, he's ready to go. All right, so now we go to exercise number 2, which is again on your sheet. What do you do with complaints? And again, I'm asking you as an employee, if you're not working somewhere, just pretend you are. Imagine yourself working in a customer-related type of environment and try to come up with how might you be able to use feedback. For those of you who are working, think about what your company does now to deal with complaints, if anything. And how can you do it better? All right, now that everybody's had a chance to think about that, let's talk about it. So what do you do with complaints at your workplace, and what do you think could be done better? Go ahead.
In like the training that I had to do for my position, it was like something like a process that we had did is apologize, understand, listen, and then respond. Because like we got to like empathize with the customer so they won't feel like we're just saying it just to get them out the way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we just did that so we don't have to so they feel like we understand them, like we're thinking with them.
Yeah, you can see a lot of similarities, right, with what I wrote before, I put up before, about understanding people, relating to people, be with them instead of against them. Yeah, great. Anybody else? What do you all do for complaints in your workplaces?
Basically what she said, like apologize, listen, and then most of the time the problems I deal with I can like solve or like give it to a manager if it's out of my hands that I can't control. So most of the times I get hands on and fix the problem.
Right, most of the time you're able to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, anybody else want to add anything? All right, so let's move on to more true stories. So this has happened to me several times where something has come in from Amazon and it hasn't worked out right. There's been something that got damaged in shipping or all sorts of things. And anytime I call them and work with them, they always seem really great. And it's not like I have to talk to the next level. A lot of times you got to go to the next level. Right, well, let me talk to my assistant manager. Oh, let me talk to my manager. Oh, let me talk to my director. It just keeps on going up. You're waiting for a response. But Amazon does a great job of the first person you talk to, that first customer service person, seems very much empowered to solve your problem. And that's something to look for too when it comes to customer delight. The fewer times you have to say, well, let me talk to my boss, the better. Because every time you talk to your boss, the customer's going, you're kidding me, I gotta wait here another 10 minutes? Where is this boss? Where is he? Why can't you solve the problem, right? It creates frustration. So this idea of Amazon Amazes has definitely impressed me. Their motto is actually to be the most customer-friendly place on earth. And how they do that is very important. How they do that is having those frontline service agents being empowered to do financial deals, right? They can actually say, I'm going to go ahead and make that free of charge for you. I'm going to go ahead and replace that for you. They don't need to go to check with anybody, or maybe they do it very, very quickly. But they're very quick to come back with you and say, this is how I'm going to solve your problem. So when you have customer service representatives, people who are working frontline, who are empowered, that provides that wow factor. That provides true customer service. That sometimes can even provide customer delight. And again, they still come off as real. They still come off as personal, genuine. They don't lose any of that. It's just that they now have the power to make decisions. And that can be great. And again, I've seen time and time again, they're able to give me tangible delight. They're able to solve my problem with a monetary solution. And they still do the intangibles. Take care of me, make sure they empathize, and all those good things. So again, if you're seeing, for example, your training showing you how to do some of the intangibles, you may want to ask them about the tangibles. Can I be empowered to do this change or make that change instead of having to go to my assistant manager or manager? Maybe the answer is no, but if the answer is yes, you're going to create greater customer satisfaction. So let's talk a little bit about what customers really want, because this is what we're trying to deliver as that customer service representative. They want us to be skilled, right? They want us to have all the skills necessary to do our job well. They want us to have the right attitude, and that includes being able to say, yes, I can help you, instead of, no, I cannot. And they also want passion. And that's the interesting one that maybe you haven't thought about, which is that the people who are having the most fun, able to provide humor, right, in the workplace, the ones who can empathize and say, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, those are probably the people who really enjoy their jobs and they're most passionate about it. Now, I know you can't always choose a job that you love, but as much as possible, if you can lean towards that, if you're having a bad experience, don't be afraid to find a different job where you have a better experience. The happier you yourself are in your job, it's going to reflect on your customer service. So think about that as a very critical piece. If you're passionate about good food or tasty food or whatnot, if you yourself love McDonald's or you yourself love Arby's foods, that's better than if you tolerate it, or even especially if you do not like it. If you don't like Arby's foods, that makes it very hard for you to be there selling their products. You may want to consider working for a place that you do appreciate more. And again, I know we don't always get to pick and choose, but if you have that chance, you want to go with somebody you believe in, right? So believe as much as you can in the work that you do, in the workplace, the culture, the people, so that you can be passionate, so that your customer service is that much better. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so I think this is pretty clear how this is laid out, so I'm going to jump to another example. There was a time actually that I went to Walmart, and the way they laid it out in this particular store, you had to walk to the very back of Walmart. And you know how big Walmart is, right? This was not the little grocery Walmart. This was the mega Walmart. And so I had to walk to the very back to go pick up my stuff that I had bought online. So I went back there, I got to the counter, there's nobody. So they had a little ringer, I think it was. No, I don't think they had anything. I think they had nothing. So I was like, what do I do? So I was just waiting for a while. After a few minutes, I went and they had a door, right, where they lead to the warehouse area. So I knocked on the door, I opened the door, I looked and I said, hello, hello. Finally, somebody came out. And so they talked to me, and this lady, she just, kind of looked down the whole time. She was looking at her screen the whole time. She almost never looked at me directly. And so I was like, okay, this feels so weird. I feel like I'm not a person, right? So she's just, okay, what's your order number? Okay. Was it this? Okay. All right, be right back out. And she just walked off. I waited a little while longer. She came back with the product. We signed off on it. And it was fine, right? I got what I expected. I expect to receive the product I bought. I got that. So I should not be displeased, right? Yes and no. Because if we're talking about customer service, I got what I expected, I got what I deserved. But when we talk about customer delight, I was not delighted in any way whatsoever, right? I got no human contact, I got no smiles, I got no personal attention, I didn't even get eye contact. I had to go find somebody instead of them being there ready to serve me. They had no system for me to tell them that I was here. So all of these things packaged together makes for a very negative experience. Even though I still got what I came for, right? I paid for a product, I got the product. What's the problem? But there was no delight. So the third exercise I want you to work on, and again, you can pull out your sheet of paper, again, very quickly, 1 or 2 minutes, real fast. In what area could you yourself be better at work? Is it in the skills? Do you feel like, gosh, I don't know where everything is. I don't know how to sell the products as well. I've not tasted everything I'm selling in my own restaurant. Is it about attitude? Maybe you're letting things affect you from school or personal life or just the time that you're working a late shift or an early shift. Do you need some correctional things to do there? Or is it more about passion? You just don't love where you're at and what you're doing and the things your company sells. Take a minute or two to reflect and respond to that prompt. All right, now that you've all had a few moments to think about that, let's share a little bit. And this gets a little personal, so feel free to share if you want to. Go ahead.
I would say passion because, like, to be honest, I'm kind of just working so I can have like some money in college. So like, but I do want to work on like being passionate about it, so I can't like, so it doesn't feel like I have to like love myself to work, like actually enjoy working, so it can go by quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Good. And some ways you can do that are learn about the history of the company. You know, maybe even talk to somebody who might inspire you, like maybe somebody's worked there 10 years. You say, oh, what do you love about this place? Just ask them. And maybe some of the stories they tell you will help you to at least respect your workplace more. And that might help you to have a little bit more passion. So, anybody else want to share? Go ahead.
I said I could work on bettering my attitude because, like, although I have like the skills and the passion, like it depends on when I'm working, but like certain times throughout the day, I tend to lose patience when I'm tired and ready to go, and it can show through my attitude and what I do, I guess. So, I want to work on being able to maintain a good attitude throughout.
Yeah, it does get hard, right? When you're like right about to leave and someone wants you to do something, you're like, this is gonna take me another 10 minutes to do this. I'm just gonna leave. You gotta be kidding me. That could be very frustrating. Yes. Good. All right. So you're identifying things that you could change. And that's what these workshops are all about. How can I look inside and make myself a better person, right? And these workshops are dealing with things that are maybe outside of academics. In this case, we're dealing with workplace attitudes, approaches, customer service. So hopefully you've taken something away from this that is really personal to you. That's what I'm hoping for you. We're going to get into our last two pieces, which is just the fact that we have to understand that our words have power. Okay? We've talked about empathy, understanding each other, and that's something people want. But also just respect the fact that the words you use can impact people very much. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. That comes from a little book called the Bible. So, again, these are the things that we got to keep in mind. Another thing is to transform your wording. Instead of saying no, say no problem. So again, that's hard because it takes more work, right? Saying no is easy. That's the easy way out. But saying no problem, let me find a solution. That's when you push yourself. That's when you work the system. That's when you learn how to do something new. It's when you have to go around something to make it happen. So try to do a no problem attitude more than a no attitude. Then you're going to find yourself being stretched to do more difficult things and harder things, but they can be good for your abilities. And then we talk about those words. Let's be very specific. Words that you want to try to avoid are the things like no, can't, won't, never, you have to, or don't tell me, or it's not this, it's not my problem, it's not my job, I don't know. Those are things you want to avoid. Things you want to try to say as much as you can are things like, please, may I, will, I appreciate, would you like, I regret. How's your day been? You are absolutely right. What we can do is this. Help me to understand. I'd like to offer you. Sorry, thank you. Consider this. Yes. So again, when you think about the kinds of words you want to be using, the ones on the right are things to generally avoid, things on the left are the things to keep with you at all times. And again, I know this is not universal, it's not 100% of the time. But these are guidelines to help your customer service rise to the next level. I'm going to talk a little bit about words that companies use. Here's one that is a guarantee by a company. It's by Publix, which is that kind of grocery store chain. If for any reason your purchase does not give you complete satisfaction, the full purchase price will be cheerfully refunded immediately upon request. What do you think? Sound good? Okay. And again, these are a little bit old on the old side, so they may have changed it since then, but I'm using them only for illustration. There's another one from Pearl Vision, which is an eyeglassware company, and they say we'll repair or exchange your new glasses for up to 30 days at no charge to you. This guarantee does not cover accidental damage, scratches, or breakage. Valid at participating locations. What do you think of that one?
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Because
Why?
you can't repair it if it's not broken. But it says
True.
it doesn't guarantee
There is a catch with it.
Yeah, there's catches, aren't there?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
And
caveats. is
and
what
you
we
can
call
only
it.
do it at certain locations.
Yeah, the other bad thing is not participating locations. I hate it when they say that, right? Because then you're like, well, my location doesn't participate.
And with the 30
Well, then why did you have it in your advertisement?
And with the 30 days too, like
Right.
nobody's gonna try to break their glasses the first 30 days. They're gonna try to not break their glasses the first 30 days.
Right. They're giving you the
Right.
best guarantee at the time when you're least likely to break it.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, there's a lot of problems. So I think the exercise 4 is pretty obvious. We won't even take 2 minutes, but you can see that in the first one, they have complete satisfaction, full purchase price, immediately upon your request. That's the wording that's impactful. The second one is about what it does not cover. It's about participating locations. It's about a 30-day limit. Don't you hate it when you get to that 31st day or you get to the 35th day and you're like, oh my gosh, these broke. Thank goodness they have that guarantee. You walk in, you slap the thing down on the table and you're like, I'm so glad I'm back. And they're like, no, you're not, because this is the 32nd day of the time that you purchased. You're out by 2 days. And you're like, no, it's Halloween. Yeah, so those are the things that you don't want to have your customer experience. All right, we're going to end with the 8-step process. This is the last working slide I have. So just try to muster the last bit of your attention. Let's focus and finish off strong. So this 8-step resolution process is a proven process to take care of your customer. It's kind of like what you had talked about for your training. It was a 4-step process. This is a little bit longer. I'll just go over it real briefly. Just so you have something that you can take away. You're welcome to write it down or take a picture if you want to. So the first thing is to say thank you. You want to thank them for bringing up the problem, right? Remember when we talked about complaints? Complaints are a gift, not a problem. So that's the first step, is you just say, wow, thank you for telling us about this pizza that's all messed up. We would not have known if you had not told us. Thank you. Second thing you do is explain why. You know, you're right, we have a new employee, he just started yesterday, and we thought he knew what he was doing, but it looks like he doesn't. But we're gonna take care of that, but this is why it happened, right? So it's not just, well, we don't know why, and we're not gonna tell you, but we'll take care of it, don't worry about it, right? That's a little more vague, it doesn't quite feel right. But if they say, oh, you're absolutely right, here is exactly what happened, right? Or if they say, okay, yeah, our assistant manager was making that pizza and he got distracted by a phone call, and so he just threw it in the oven, and then he took the phone call. He's really sorry, or he'll come out and apologize, right? Now you're like, okay, there was a reason, I was not crazy, something really did happen, and now I know. It's almost like resting a part of your soul that can be like, okay, I know why that happened, I can move on with my life. But if you never know why that pizza was messed up, it's like gonna haunt you forever. What was up with that pizza, right? You're still gonna be talking about that a week later. You don't want to, you wanna rest your soul. So try to give a reason why if you know why. Don't hide from that. Apologize, that's pretty obvious, right? Say sorry. Then there's a fourth thing, which is to promise to do. We will do better next time. Okay, we will take this step to do better next time. We will retrain. We will, etc. Right? We will cook it at the right temperature moving forward. And then there's an asking for relevant info. Again, if they don't know the whys, you can go back and just check. Can you give us more information? Can you explain to us, why the fries were not to your liking or whatever the case may be? And then fixing the mistake promptly. Explain to them what you're doing now to change things. Check for satisfaction. We got you a new batch of fries. Did those turn out okay for you? Were they crunchy enough? Preventing future mistakes. Don't be afraid to tell them, we're going to take steps. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to check with my boss, and then we'll probably start implementing that tomorrow. Or we're going to change this right away. I'm so glad you told us about it. Here's what we're changing from now on. We're going to do this, that, and the other. Doesn't that make you feel better to know they're taking steps so this will not happen again? Right? If they didn't tell you they're taking steps, are you going back to that Domino's the next time you're hungry? But if you know they addressed it, they're taking steps, and they're doing it starting tomorrow, are you more likely to go back and buy a pizza from them again? Yes, because you're like, they probably have fixed that problem because they told me exactly what they're going to do. So that's the 8-step resolution process. So just to recap, because I know it's a lot. We started off talking about how you want to focus on customer delight and not just customer satisfaction and customer service. That's like next level thinking. Second thing we talked about is how to deal with complaints and why they're actually a good thing. The third thing is we talked about what customers want and how we can look inside of ourselves to think of our own skills and attitude and passion, how that could change for the better, to make ourselves better, but also to make our employer or our company better off because of it. The fourth thing was the words having power. Words having power. And finally, we talked about the 8-step resolution process, so you have a full, ready-to-go way in which you can treat customers the right way. So with that, I want to thank you very much. And if you could please take a shot of this QR code and fill out the survey. It should take you just 3 minutes, if not less. Thank you so much for coming to this. I appreciate it. Hope you got a lot out of it.
Thank you.
And I can also answer questions. If anyone has a question they want to ask while you're doing that survey, feel free to ask.